You've felt it before. That strange moment where you walk away from a conversation and something doesn't sit right. You can't explain it. Nothing obvious was said. No insults, no confrontation, and yet you feel smaller, confused, slightly off balance. It's subtle, almost invisible. And that's exactly why it works. Because the most powerful forms of control are not loud. They don't announce themselves. They don't look like manipulation. They feel like normal conversation, normal relationships, normal behavior. But beneath that surface, something else is happening. Someone is guiding your thoughts, shaping your emotions, influencing your decisions, without you even realizing it. And here's the truth most people never hear. You don't need to be weak to be controlled. You just need to be unaware. Because dark psychology doesn't target your strength. It targets your blind spots. In this video, I'm going to reveal the hidden patterns that quietly shape how you think, feel, and act, so you can finally see what most people never do. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Before we go deeper, I want to be clear. Everything discussed on this channel is strictly for educational purposes. Understanding dark psychology is about building awareness, not weaponizing it. If you or someone you know is in a harmful situation, please seek support from a licensed professional. This is a space for growth, clarity, and protection. Nothing else. Dark psychology isn't about dramatic villains or obvious manipulation. It's about subtle influence, the kind that slips under your awareness and quietly shapes your behavior. In simple terms, dark psychology refers to patterns of behavior where someone influences others through hidden emotional triggers, psychological pressure, or indirect control, often without being noticed. And the reason this matters is simple. These patterns show up everywhere. In conversations, in relationships, in workplaces. Imagine this. You're talking to someone you trust. They seem calm, reasonable, even supportive. But over time, you notice something strange. You start doubting your decisions. You second-guess your instincts. You feel like you're always the one at fault, even when you're not sure why. Nothing obvious happened. No clear argument. No direct attack. Just a slow shift in how you see yourself. That's how dark psychology works. It doesn't force you. It guides you quietly until you start doing the work for them. And today I'm going to break this down into layers, because what you see on the surface is only the beginning. Layer 1, the illusion of normality. Most people think manipulation looks aggressive, obvious, easy to detect. But the first secret is this: the most effective psychological control feels normal. That's what makes it dangerous. When someone uses subtle tone shifts, small emotional cues, or carefully chosen words, your brain doesn't register it as a threat. It processes it as everyday interaction. For example, someone might say, "I'm just trying to help you," after subtly criticizing your choices. On the surface, it sounds supportive, but underneath, it plants doubt. And over time, those small moments add up. You begin to question yourself. You rely more on their approval. And slowly, your confidence shifts. Why does this matter? Because if you're waiting for manipulation to look obvious, you'll miss it completely. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Layer 2, emotional anchoring. The second layer goes deeper. Dark psychology often works by attaching emotions to specific people, ideas, or situations, something known as emotional anchoring. It's not about controlling your thoughts directly. It's about controlling how you feel, so your thoughts follow. For example, someone gives you attention, validation, and warmth, but only sometimes. Not consistently, just enough to keep you wanting more. Your brain starts associating them with reward. So even when they withdraw, criticize, or confuse you, you stay, because you're chasing that emotional high again. This creates a loop. Attention, withdrawal, confusion, validation. And without realizing it, you become emotionally dependent on the pattern. Most people stop here. They think it's just about feelings. But you need to understand the next layer. Layer 3, silent decision control. This is where dark psychology becomes almost invisible. Because at this level, the person doesn't control what you do directly. They shape the environment. So you choose what they want. For example, instead of telling you what to do, they frame situations in a way that limits your options. They highlight certain outcomes, ignore others, and subtly guide your perception. So when you make a decision, it feels like your choice. But in reality, the path was already designed. This is the deepest layer, not controlling actions, but influencing the process that leads to them. And once this happens, control becomes almost undetectable. Here's the part most people never realize. Dark psychology doesn't work because someone else is powerful. It works because of something inside you. Your need for approval. Your fear of conflict. Your desire to be understood. That's human. These are not weaknesses. But manipulators exploit it. They're human. They don't go unexamined, they invite it. They become entry. They create situations where you choose the path. The real mechanism isn't external control. Because it feels like the only way to preserve the relationship, external influence, the peace. And the moment you become aware of your own patterns. So the real danger isn't the entire system starts to break. It's the moment you stop trusting yourself automation and start reacting to define what's real, what's right, and what's acceptable. That's when control becomes complete. So how do you protect yourself from something this subtle? The answer isn't confrontation. It's awareness. Strategy 1. Pause before reacting. When you feel a sudden emotional surge, guilt, confusion, pressure, pause. That emotional spike is often the entry point of manipulation. Giving yourself even a few seconds creates space between the trigger and your response. Strategy 2. Track patterns, not moments. Manipulation isn't about one conversation. It's about repeated patterns. Pay attention to how you consistently feel after interacting with someone. Confused? Drained? Doubtful? That pattern tells you more than any single situation. Strategy 3. Re-anchor to your reality. Write things down. Reflect on conversations. When you externalize your thoughts, it becomes harder for someone to distort them. You create a reference point that isn't influenced by someone else's narrative. Strategy 4. Trust discomfort as data. If something feels off, it probably is. You don't need immediate proof. Discomfort is often your mind recognizing inconsistency. Before you can logically explain it, respect that signal instead of dismissing it. Think about the last time you walked away from a conversation feeling confused, questioning yourself, or emotionally drained. Now ask yourself this: was that confusion created by the situation, or was it placed there? And more importantly, which of these patterns do you recognize in your own life right now? Manipulation doesn't begin with control. It begins with influence. It doesn't take your power away instantly. It slowly convinces you to give it away. And the moment you start recognizing these patterns, that's the moment you take it back. In our next video, we're going to expose one of the most silent psychological tactics, and something so subtle, most people don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep learning the psychology